All right. So we are.
Oh no, V.
Yeah, we're actually live now.
Oh
Um,
god.
yeah, look out. So,
Oh no.
uh, lady and gentlemen, uh, I'm actually
Guy and
sending over here.
girl.
Yeah, Matt Squanch and Mike in Manitoba are our two most faithful listeners, only listeners, as it were. Um,
Probably.
well, we have a bit of a conundrum here. We have a bit of an issue. Um, in that your favorite host, Dustin, is not here. So he
Oh
has been.
shit.
You know what? And here's the thing about Dustin. And I know all of you, all one or two of you,
Every all.
and my mom are going to be very disappointed to hear that. But what you will probably be able to gather from this is that it takes two, and I know you know this. It takes two to replace one Dustin. So what we did today was we brought a fan favorite, Fetusberry Crunch, and
Woo!
he is back on the show. Those of you, so Mike in Manitoba, who watched last week, um,
Woo!
you remember him from that. And you also remember him from the Angela episode that got us in some big trouble and some hot water with Angela. And I am pleased.
She should have seen it coming.
She should have, hindsight being what it is.
Uh-huh.
And we have
Okay.
returning after, gosh, it's been probably 2 years. And many of you, Mike in Manitoba, you will remember this character because our funniest episodes, frankly, he was on them. You remember Ryan, aka
So what?
V, aka our former producer, back on the scene. Ryan, go ahead and say something. Don't leave me hanging here.
It's good to be back. I didn't want to cut you off, and
You
know,
thought I
you were
had
saying-
more good things to say about you?
when people sing me praises, I tend to just enjoy them, But I'm glad to be back. I really I really was honored that you asked me to come back and have a little chat with you guys about all this stuff, and I don't know, without sounding gay or anything.
Oh, so
You
if
know.
he doesn't know that we're gonna double backhand him and get him on a flip flop, like he didn't know we're gonna drag him.
This is that's a lot of fancy terminology, and I don't know what half of it means. Is this a gay thing or is this a wrestling thing? Because either way,
No,
I'm in for either one.
no. What Tom is doing now is known as faking. It was
Yeah,
his
well,
plan.
it's-
He set you up, V.
so
That would happen.
so
Yeah,
I'm
man.
going to. Oh,
We're-
by the way, while we're here, I don't know if you guys have drinks on you, but we're doing
All day.
our shot, and I'm going to do this Silencio again today because I only tried it that one time, and then I moved on from it, and I didn't have any more for the rest of the show, and I want to give it another fair shake. So I'm going to have another shot today, and I guess we could toast to the return of the producer.
That's cool. I have a glass of water. Does that count?
Yeah, I
Yeah, do
think-
some
didn't,
shots, bro.
Didn't James used to do? Oh man, that stuff is actually pretty good. I don't know if I could sip it.
Dude, if you're drinking water, you gotta get like crazy hydrated, bro. Like, man, yo, I've been chugging water all day. You would not believe. Woo!
It's very high class. It's Fresno tap water. I'm in
Ooh.
Fresno
See,
right now.
got that tap?
So you've
That's
got
what's
that
up, man.
local domestic water.
Yeah, no ice,
Yeah,
no ice, preferably without the Montezuma's Revenge.
That's called
it's probably
water.
it's
neat.
probably single source and free range and gluten free.
Yeah.
It's all those things.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing up here with this Portland tap, son. I got hot and cold water all day.
You know how many things we can promote on this show? Like when we put it out, that this was the episode, and you can go back and listen to it, and I could say, hey, we did a plug for Silencio. We did a plug for, what would you say, Nestle, Fresno water, San Francisco tree, or what was it?
Fresno water. Fresno tap.
Oh, there you go.
There's no tap, baby.
Yeah,
It's
Fresno
nothing
tap.
but the finest.
It has a nice ring to it. I'll say that.
Hold on. Let's real quick address this issue. Dying Rose has an issue with the audio. Everybody else good with the audio? No one else having any problems? Can you hear? So you got to turn it up a little. I can turn it up a little bit if that's the issue.
That sounds like a you problem.
Yeah.
And I can even actually make myself in stereo by having Dustin's mic on. Unfortunately, since he's not here, it's just sitting there going to waste.
It's a shame. I miss D-Train. I love giving him the business, man. That's another gay reference I saw called in for you guys. But he's such an easy target. Like I feel like he's the whipping boy. Like anytime he says something, he just opens it up for insults, and I really enjoy being around people like that you could just lob insults at. I'll just lord over them.
Dustin opens himself up like a mailbox, and you can just put whatever inside him. He's really coming to his own in this role. He's sort of grown into it, He's, I don't know. He has a certain je ne sais quoi to being, the one who gets shit on all the time.
So, and here's the thing. Dustin's brother, right? I think we talked about him last week. Do you guys remember that? So I have made it since that day. I've made it a point to just fuck with that dude nonstop, like all week.
Oh yeah,
and I sent you the stuff. I wish I could share them. I don't want to it's funny to talk about it. It's not as funny to show you his stuff, like everybody his stuff, because then you'll be like, oh, let me go fuck with him too. I want to kind of hold the corner, I want to corner that market of fucking with Dustin's brother. So that's
an awful lot bullying
as
Dustin's
a host, man. That's correct.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's exactly what I want to do. But I'll tell you about it all day long.
Poor Dustin, man. Poor Dustin. Couldn't be with us this week. He pulled a ball getting out of the shower. I'd never seen it before. He pulled a ball. It's a really painful thing. We wish the best, Dustin. Get better soon, buddy.
You know what's horrible about that is they're so massive. It's hard for him not to. It's hard for him not to pull a ball.
One of them slipped out of his grasp while he was climbing over the shower. And shower, of course, being the oversized wash basin in the backyard. But he was climbing out, and one of his massive testes slipped from his grip and slammed into the ground and left a small crater. But we're hoping his vas deferens can recover.
So back to fucking with his brother, though. I saw some of his.
I saw. So it's so messed up because I was trying to I was waiting for Feats to finish so that I could switch the screen to V because I knew V had something lined up, and I'm switching the screen between the two of you, and I don't know if you've seen the pictures yet. And I'm hoping that the people at home have, because they're really funny to me. But go ahead, V.
I was going to say, I saw some of the stuff that you sent me some of it. So I was privy to, the stuff that you were, throwing at him. And my favorite, the best to me, the best, thing that you threw at him was, when he basically he broke down and, threw his tantrum. And you were like, you'll be all right, though.
Yeah, I kept saying it. I said, what was it? I said, just delete, because he's always talking about how he's the moderator on Reddit. And so what happened on Reddit, and I'll give you the backstory on it.
That's such an important job. I'm a moderator on Reddit.
Well, and that's the thing.
He put on his fucking applications.
He's got it on his resume, and that's it. From 2009 until 2019, it says moderator on a subreddit of 150 people. But so he
Hang on,
has
and
his
you're
stuff.
Fucking with this guy?
Yeah,
hang on,
because I'm kind of brave. I'm a brave guy.
He moderates a Reddit, dude.
A subreddit, not even the real whole Reddit, just a subreddit. So this dude,
150 people, dude.
He's gonna stick them all on me. I don't know how many of them are, are willing to try to dox me, but. He has all my information. I'm very willing to put all my information out there. I constantly say my full name on the Twitter, even though I say all this outlandish and ridiculous stuff on here, and I rightfully probably will. If I ever commit suicide, I want you guys to investigate for foul play because it was a black suit come and get me, or Hillary Clinton. So,
Yeah.
which is what we're going to talk about tonight, Matt Squatch. So,
Yeah, I was
so
saying
hang
that
tight.
seems like a good segue.
No, but let me tell you what I did to this dude. Let me tell you what I did to the dude. So I went to his subreddit, and because he has it posted on his page on Twitter, and I was able to track it down.
Well,
and
of course
I found,
he's proud. Why wouldn't he be?
well, yeah. And so I went to one of them, and I'm not gonna say what it is, and you can find it if you find it. It doesn't matter. But I went to one of them, and it had like a bunch of moderators, so it like downplayed his moderator title quite a bit when I saw that there were like 20 moderators.
That's a subs or doesn't downplay it enough.
Yeah. so then I go to the other one that he moderates, and it has like 150 people on it or whatever, and I find like a name that's there and a name that's on the other one, and I find it like I narrow it down. I'm like, oh, that's this dude, and I open up his thing to look at his post history, and to verify that it's him, and I did. I verified it's him because like the first thing on there was this anti-Trump tweet of him that he did himself. And he quoted it, like he took a screenshot of it and he posted it and he said, "I knew it looked like something," like he was trying to pretend like it was somebody else posted it and that's not him. And and so he posts this thing talking about how his community on Reddit or whatever, how his community stopped a school shooting. And I said, "Oh yeah," I said, "I remember when that happened because Dustin, the guy who stopped the shooter, actually let his brother take all the credit, because he's such a good guy." And then he immediately messages me on the side, and he's like, "What the fuck, bro? Like, I don't post my personal information on here. I would ask that you wouldn't do the same." And I said, "Just delete the comment, moderator. You'll be all right."
Yeah.
And then
you'll be all right.
He's like, "That's not the point."
No, he'd have to go before the council.
But yeah,
No,
I didn't make him cry, Mike. I tried, but then he stopped talking to me after that. So
I don't believe that. I think he probably cried. I think he's crying now.
I would hope so. I hope
Also,
not. I like him. I mean, it's like I don't want to make him cry, but I will.
Yeah, you do. I'm gonna hop in here real quick though. I'm gonna say that, like, okay, yeah, on Twitter we're shit rats. That's true, but on Reddit, that's a whole different microcosm, man. Those people are especially sad. The hardcore Redditors, damn. Oh, that shit is bad. Cringe so bad, my balls hurt.
I'm gonna have to agree with Fetusberry on this one. I'm not much of a forum poster. I have like one social media account and that's it. But when I was on Twitter, like for the 2 months that I was on Twitter, I was like, man, this is awful. These people are terrible. They're so mean to each other. But then like I've seen Reddit posts and it's like the sub level below that, where it gets even worse. And then I started reading 4chan posts, and it's like you have Twitter, and then you have Reddit, and then you have 4chan, and like in between there's like this line where it's like, look, you're gonna get bullied on social media at some point, whether it's by like a teenager, or somebody like Tom.
Yeah, it usually is me.
Likes to poke the bear.
You could, man, you should be so lucky to get bullied by Tom.
I'm legitimately a terrible person on Twitter. I really am. When they say my old account that got it got banned permanently, like I'm permanently banned from Twitter. I'm barely allowed on there. The only reason I'm allowed on there is because I had that "You Had Me at Bigfoot" account before I got banned, so they haven't caught me yet. But yeah, my old one, I used to have that picture pinned where it said, "There are not two versions of you. There's not internet you and then real you. If you're a piece of shit on the internet, you're a piece of shit in real life." And I was like, well, that's not true at all. I said, I donate to charity, I go to church, I'm a loving father. But then on the internet, I'm quick to call Kurt Eichenwald a seizure fag. So, but let's go ahead and move on because Matt Squatch, he's got important things to do, and I don't want to hold him up. But that's kind of. I
didn't realize we were on Matt Squatch's schedule.
We are always on Matt Squatch's schedule. He's kind of like the office manager, and he keeps us all in line. So let's start off by saying today is not just about the topic that we're going to discuss that you've been waiting for almost half an hour now. Today we're doing a special telethon, a Skype-a-thon. a Twitch-a-thon even, for my friend Fetusberry Crunch, my dear friend of several years now. His birthday is coming up on the 19th, and he has requested... No, he's not asked of much of any of us over the many years that we've known him. I mean, we've all come to know and love Fetusberry Crunch for, for all the good things that he's done, and the charitable donations that he's made, and the impact that he's had on the world and the economy, local, national, even global. We like to send a message back to him. We'd like to give something back to him, and he's asked for nothing more than some PlayStation Network codes. Feats, if you could go ahead and explain to the people how they can get in contact with you. We're going to be, over the course of this broadcast, we're going to be holding like I said, a Twitch-a-thon, where you can actually call in and pledge to this birthday gift that we'd like to give to Fetusberry. So, Feats, if you would go ahead and take the microphone.
Well... It's I'm not a Make-A-Wish kid or anything. That cough was just me clearing my throat. I'm not dying any faster than anybody else. You can go on to Amazon.com or .co.uk or whatever it is. Do your thing. On Amazon, you can find a PlayStation Network gift code, a voucher code. Voucher code. And then what you do is you take that little code there. I think it's like a 10 or maybe a 12-digit code. You just go ahead and you send it on to your buddy Tom there. Or you can get a hold of me directly on Twitter. It's at Fetusberry. You go ahead, you DM me the code. And I'll thank you. And I'll give you a nice shout out on my own podcast there, the Fetusberry Jam, available at anchor.fm/Fetusberry, also on Twitter at Fetusberry Jam. I appreciate it very much. I got bills and all that kind of ish. I got, car stuff. I got food stuff, and I don't make enough money. Is the problem. So
I want you guys to go ahead and reach into your pockets, not only your pockets, reach into your hearts, and give a PlayStation Network code to my friend and yours, Fetusberry Crunch. Let's not forget the contributions he made to the show. What was it, a year or two ago when we had? I'm sorry, it was a year ago when we had Angela on the show. And he called her out publicly. He was able to do what I didn't have the heart to do because I didn't want to. I don't know what her real powers are, but Feats didn't care, and Feats went ahead and called her out on her shenanigans. And I don't talk bad to people into their face. I do it behind their backs. That's kind of how I do it, and that's what I did with Angela. Feats did it to her face, and we appreciate that, and I hope you did too. And if you see it in your hearts to give to our friend and our fearless comrade here, Fetusberry, it would be greatly appreciated. So, moving on, here's what I'm going to... And Mike in Manitoba, we will make sure you get a tax receipt. This is a tax deductible.
Yes, the tax write-off.
Yeah, you can absolutely do that. But what I'd like to do now is I'd like to move forward with the conversation here. And what we're going to talk about today is something that's been popular in the news lately. And if you haven't heard about it, I don't know how you wouldn't have heard about it. But
you've been living under a rock.
Yeah, or in a prison cell that is not monitored and the guards are sleeping.
Right.
I would imagine that would be... where you were for the last, it's been like 2 months probably. It's been huge. So what we're talking about today is we're going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, Jacob Epstein. That's an old joke that V and I used to do where we always get the name wrong. Jeffrey Epstein. And
ice cream.
Jacob ice cream. We're going to talk about
Hepburn ice cream.
We're going to talk about Hepburn Jacob ice cream. And kind of the controversy surrounding his death and the time leading up to his death, because he's he's certainly been a subject of controversy for, oh boy, for years, really, since 2008. Yeah, for thousands, since time immemorial.
It's a point worth of conspiracy.
Time immemorial, yes.
So, V, why don't you go ahead and give us like I know you just kind of started brushing up on this topic. I want you to give, I've been studying it in depth, and like I have like a very biased view of.
You are a learned doctor.
Yeah, I am a learned doctor. A Jeffrey Epstein PhD is what I hold my doctorate in. I wrote my dissertation on his supposed suicide last month.
Suicide, yes.
V, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take over and just kind of give like a what you know about it, kind of like a generalized version of the story of Jacob Ice Cream.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Well, I kind of like perused a lot of the info over the internets today, and I learned a lot, to be honest. I kind of was just privy to what the news tells me and what I see like randomly when I go through posts or whatever, and things that you and I talk about also, Tom. We joke about this stuff, but we're never really current with current events. So like I started reading some of the stuff, and it's crazy. It's this string that just unravels once you start researching it, because there's so much depth to it. Like it goes way back, like way back. And as we all know, the base of the whole. All right, go ahead.
No, I didn't say anything.
I thought somebody was saying something. So, anyways,
that's me. I'm agreeing with you.
It goes way back. And the thing is, as we all know, he committed suicide in his cell, and he went to jail for sex trafficking. Right? That was the whole thing. Now, this whole stuff is because he owns this island where a ton of famous people, like he took, like not just like actors and like famous celebrities, but like politicians, and like the list is insane. Like we had the list earlier, and it blew my mind. We were talking about how some of them you go, oh, that's kind of a surprise, and then other ones you go, well, yeah, that's not a surprise. Yeah. So all these people, all these famous celebrities, and like we'll say powerful people go to this island where he was essentially forcing girls as young as 14 years old to be sex toys, essentially. And so that kind of gives you an idea of like this suicide, right? There's all these powerful people, and it gets worse. Like it gets way worse. Like he was black. He had all these things to blackmail all of these famous political and celebrities and movie stars by videotaping on his property sexual acts with these underage people. Like underage girls, right, is what we hear. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it's crazy. The stuff that they found when they raided his house was like CDs that said such and such young girl's name plus such and such famous person, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a plethora of these tapes, or, well, tapes is a little outdated, but we'll say DVDs. Well, high definition.
No, they still call them sex tapes.
They still call sex tapes.
Yeah.
So there's these sex tapes out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sex tapes is what's important here. This is where it all goes back to the sex tapes. This is what my theory, my opinion, goes to the sex tapes, right? So this dude, Jacob Holmstein, he's got all these tapes. He's got all these tapes of all these famous people banging little girls. And then he's like basically doing that for his own, like, to cover his own ass, because it's a shady business dealing in young tail, you know what I mean? And so he keeps all these tapes. I don't think you can say that,
V. I don't think you can call it young tail.
You can't say young tail. Is young tail like 18 to like 21?
Standards and practices, V.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if I could figure out.
FCC fine, then.
We'll say
fine piece of kindergarten ass is basically what you just said.
Oh no.
14. So let's be let's be factual here. They said it's under as young as 14, so we'll say tween tail, right? Tween. Right? So when the guy's got these things, he gets arrested because, and it's not the first time he's been arrested. But that's what's even more crazy, is it's not the first time he's been arrested for this shit. Yeah. He's been like in trouble for this for the past fucking like 10 years, which obviously it goes way further back because he had this little black book with all these people's name in it, which are like beyond even what we know, like beyond that, like things that we'll never know, right? And so then he goes to jail finally, and the reason why he actually ends up in jail this time is because the judge rules he's a flight risk, he's a risk to society, you're not getting bail this time. And so there's all this shit like, well, make sure you keep him safe, and then he's like paying people off so he doesn't get hurt in jail. Like, this is what blows my mind about this suicide, this quote-unquote suicide, is if he's paying people off in jail so that he doesn't get hurt, why would he commit suicide? Like, that, like, literally right there to me says, okay, you don't want to die or get your ass whooped in jail, so you're paying people to stay alive, and then you just commit suicide? Like, that, to me, it's kind of like conflict, you know what I mean? So essentially what happened is... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say there's a bit more to it than that. They kept him separated from Gen Pop for a while because... Inside, anybody who does anything with kids, chimos, low eyes, they usually wake up dead in a hurry. So yeah, eventually they put him in Gen Pop, which was a big mistake. But he paid everybody. Things were okay, and then all of a sudden he gets like banged out by somebody's, what was it, a dumbbell?
Yeah, well, some other dude. It was an ex-cop who came into his room who has ties to guess who? Naturally, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And so this ex-cop ends up in jail.
She can't be one.
Right. So I mean, and so ex-cops do worse, almost as bad in jail as the pedophiles. And so this dude goes in, beats his ass, and then gets broken up, and so survives.
Can we go back to referring to it as chimos instead of pedophile? I really like that term.
Chimos.
Oh, okay. Yeah, chimo.
The only time we would refer to pedophile, we say chimo.
Yeah. So every time you accidentally say, anytime you accidentally say pedophile, you have to drink. If you say chimo, that's the acceptable one.
Yeah, chimo is the acceptable term here. So then what happens is they put him away from, because he gets fucked up, right? They put him away from all these people in this, seclusion by himself or whatever. But then they even said they're supposed to check on him like every 30 minutes. Like, it was this whole like they're gonna have two guards check on him every 30 minutes. They had cameras pointing at the cell so they could pay attention to him like 24/7, right? And so it just so happens that when no, let's go back a little bit.
Yeah,
there was
actually don't blow your wad yet.
Yeah, there was actually a quote unquote suicide attempt a couple days before that. Right? So
that's why all the watching.
It's like what's going on here? Like, dude tried to commit suicide and failed? Like, I feel like it's not that hard to commit suicide, especially in jail. And like, I don't know, man.
So here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna interrupt you just real quick on that topic. So here, let me switch the camera back to me. So today, in solidarity with our friends in the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan, in solidarity with our sleeping guards who were supposed to be watching Epstein, I am wearing my corrections officer hat from my time as a corrections officer. And so here's how that works when you have a suicidal...
Best guard.
I was, what's funny is I was like the easiest, breeziest guard in the world. I really just, I didn't care as long as they weren't raping each other and they weren't beating anybody up or whatever.
Whenever I imagine you as a correctional officer, I always picture you with like your hat like a little bit crooked, like you just, those cops, the beat cops that they wear their hat like kind of halfway on their head and they like chew gum,
that's how I picture you.
Jauntily askew.
That was pretty much what it was.
His patrol cap is jauntily askew. Yeah.
It was a good time. I liked that job. I would go back to it again if I just didn't want to. If I wanted to work, I don't really feel like it, so I'm not going to. But that's, of all the jobs that I've ever had, that was one that I enjoyed the most. But how that works with suicidal inmates is for us. Did somebody just fall down? What just happened?
Yes.
I moved the table that I had just like a smidgen.
Oh, okay. But we used to
down again.
We used to just throw them in the hole. We used to just throw these suicidal inmates in the hole, and it was like the room that they would go in had a mat that was maybe an inch, 2 inches thick, and they would lay on this little mat, and then there was a toilet and like a sink connected. You know those toilet sinks that everybody cries about with the border things or whatever. They would have one of those, and then like a grate in the floor. And they would also be put into a turtle shell. We used to call it the turtle shell. It's just like a green. They'd get completely naked and they'd put on this. It looked like, for all intents and purposes, a turtle shell. It was just like a green, cushioned, tear-proof uniform that had Velcro. So you would kind of like throw it over your head like a body armor, and then you would Velcro it shut.
I'm sorry, I have no reference point for this. So if I. You wouldn't believe the imagery that I'm getting.
No, you're probably imagining
like
it right.
Show.
Yeah, you're probably imagining it right. It's ridiculous. So, do what now?
Donatello's my boy.
So what your point here is that this is what I'm gathering from it, is that like if you want to keep someone committing suicide, throw them in the hole because first of all they don't have a roommate, right? You don't have a cellmate. And then there's literally nothing in there. I mean, let's be honest though. If you want to commit suicide, you can just do it.
It's really, it'd be really hard.
Anything, just choke yourself to death. I'm sure.
Well, they didn't have anything to choke themselves with. Like even like that thing. I mean, you could do it. Yeah, you're right. You could, but it would be like the hardest thing. And so for us, when we had somebody on suicide watch, you had to not only go and check on them every 15 minutes. And scan with the little scanner that you'd carry, but you'd also have to scan the little barcode on their door so that in the system it shows that you can't like fake the records later. But then there's also a piece of paper that you have to write that you checked at whatever time. So anytime you would go in there, you would have to jot down, hey, I was here at such and such time, signed it, and what was he doing? Nothing. He was taking a shit. Right. It's like what we would write sometimes, and because that's what they do most of the time. They just sit on the toilet and not do nothing because they didn't have chairs or anything. They just sit on the toilet, and so we go and scan them and then jot it down.
You're gonna get a DVT, man. So you're gonna get DVT sitting on the toilet all day. Come on.
Yeah, and they end up with hemorrhoids. But yeah, you have to go check on them, and that's the problem with this story is that there were two guards, and they were supposed to check every half an hour, and then they didn't, and then they faked the records later, and then there were also reports that these two guards were told to go home like 3 hours before his supposed death, and because they needed to do scheduled maintenance on either the cell or the hallway or something. And then the cameras go out, and then the audio is unusable from the cameras, and then inmates heard Epstein screaming, and like who commits suicide and screams as they're doing it, you know, like who?
I mean, I've done it before. I've killed myself tons of times, and I go out screaming like a banshee the whole way.
Well, so besides Fetusberry, who does that?
Point, though. That makes a good point though, Tom, because it's like we always talk about the Occam's razor, and it's like everything.
We're losing you, V.
Maybe it's a little cheesy, like you know, a fucking CSI show or some shit, but like really, like it's like something on TV, like oh the cameras mysteriously went out, and then the guards happened to be asleep. All at the same time, like it's too coincidental. You know what I mean? Like come on, come on.
It's one thing to develop an opinion based off of one thing. Like if there's one crazy thing that happens, it's kind of easy to be like, well, you know, people make mistakes. The camera's fucked up, whatever. Or people make mistakes. Maybe they misheard him screaming or whatever. You know, it's one thing to be skeptical of one piece of this. It's easy to, and I wouldn't blame people if it was just one thing. But I mean, we're talking about like 6 or 7 pretty suspicious things, all coming together. It's really hard to be dismissive at that point. We haven't even gotten into like the real interesting stuff. That's just like what was on the news. So the stuff that we're going to kind of get into here in a minute is a little bit deeper. But go ahead, Fee.
Epstein's whole thing in jail, his last few weeks, it was lazy writing. It was lazy writing, is what that was. It was like, like you get to the end of the episode of CSI and you can tell they kind of phoned it in. They were just like, bad guy got arrested and he felt really bad, so he killed himself. He'll never be brought to justice.
Bad episode.
They're like 48 minutes into it, and they're like, we need to sort this out real quick. We need to find some kind of closure. You know, there are some episodes of Law and Order where it just kind of ends, and you're like, what? Like, everybody, there's no closure here.
What happens with the part?
Yeah, and so like
never mind.
And you know what's funny about that is like nobody would care. Like nobody would care if when those episodes of Law and Order just end, and it's like, like nobody's up in arms about it. Like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I need to know more about what happened with this perp. It's all old people who are watching it, and it's just background noise. Yeah. Nobody's actually watching Law and Order. So, I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to make a claim to the audience, all right? Nobody watches Law and Order. Period.
No, yeah, that's a valid point.
No, okay. I'm with you. The majority of the audience are old folks whose brains have gone through such dementia that they have the mental capacity of a grape. But some of them are still, the descendants of the busybodies, since the majority of the busybodies have died out. They're like, I'm going to sit down in front of my word processor, since I'm not a fossil, and I'm going to type, is it plugged in? I'm going to type up an angry letter to whom it may concern regarding last night's episode of Law and Ordered.
Law and Order.
They'll only, Law and Ordered. They'll only get a couple of like angry, actual physical letters about it, but nobody else watches. I mean, the majority of the people like. Did you see that episode with Logan Paul about Gamergate? Wow.
Oh, jeez. Don't get feet started on Gamergate.
Wow. That's a whole thing, buddy. I tell you what. Oh boy.
So Mike in Manitoba is offended by our comments about Law and Order.
Law and Order.
I think he's mad about Law and Order because I'm sure. I'm kind of curious if Mike in Manitoba.
Don't be mad about Law and Order.
He's in the middle of an email right now. You sons of bitches at Dick Wolf Incorporated.
Yeah, you really phoned it in that episode.
Speedweed, I was dissatisfied with the ending of this week's episode about a cybercrime.
And who are they writing to at this point? Like, what channel is it even on? Is it still on USA or is it just Netflix? Like, are they writing to Netflix? And Netflix is not even like a creator. It's just there to facilitate it.
I think these days
you could have on CSI and Law and Order on two different TVs in front of me, and I wouldn't be able to tell you which one is which. I wouldn't know.
Not anymore. I know one of them has Marissa Hargett today.
I'd be like, it's the same show.
It is basically the same show.
So, what about let's
to whom it may concern, these are not the same show.
Let's take it a little bit deeper. Is there any difference between Law and Order, GSI,
Law and Ordered,
and Criminal Minds? Or is Criminal Minds also the same show?
Oh, and then you got to put in NCIS.
Oh, and NCIS. That's right. NCIS is for like that's for the military guys.
The redhead dude.
Like Jag.
CSI Miami.
Yeah, there's that too.
Oh.
They don't even make new shows. They're just making spin-offs of old shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like they're not like, hey, I got an idea. What if we do CSI was such a hit, why don't we take it to Miami? Let's take it there and see what happens next.
Okay, but what we'll do is Miami, everybody knows it's way sexier than Las Vegas. So who's the sexy host or who's the sexy star we're going to need for this one? David Caruso.
Absolutely right. The only reason why
come on, man.
And so that
David
they could
Caruso.
so they could splice in shots of girls in bikinis at the beach. That's the only reason why they did this. The stories are the same. There's like in between shots of girls at the beach in bikinis.
Dude, I gotta say though, CSI Miami. I mean, we could shit on that show all day, and rightfully so. But it did better than Baywatch Nights.
Is that a show?
Baywatch.
You didn't know? Oh,
well, you're talking about how bad it is. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, I watched that show. Like, I don't make it up. I barely watch TV as it is. Yeah. You know, I barely watch it as it is. Nights, yeah. So.
Baywatch Nights, yes, was a show. It was a spinoff starring the Hoff. And it was like Baywatch, but it was like Hoff, at night.
Floorburger Hoff.
Sexier.
Floorburger.
Remember when he ate the cheeseburger off the floor? That was one of my favorite memories. Like cheeseburger, Floorburger Hoff is he's like my spirit animal.
Floorburger Hoff. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean that's the kind of life you want to attain, you know, like being that wasted and eating a cheeseburger off the ground.
Oh, you can't even pretend we were never Floorburger wasted. Like, I know for a fact we were Floorburger wasted a time or two.
I would do it sober.
All right. Fetusberry's eating cheeseburger.
I like food.
All right, let's move back because Matt Squatch is back, so I don't want him to, get angry at us. But let's talk a little bit about, connections that Epstein had, right? We all know, like, you were talking about, let's talk about the flight logs real quick. You kind of mentioned it, and I tried to put it up on the screen real quick, but I wanted to get it back to the Cheech and Chong picture, because it cracks me up every time I see it. But let's talk a little bit about this flight log, and kind of what you were...
Guys.
Yeah, what's up?
There's probably
the craziest
book.
I think probably the craziest guest that Epstein ever had on his private island was that dude who said that he could throw a wiffle ball straight.
Well, whoever he was clearly an intelligent person. But moving on. So if you look at this list, all right. Now I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, "Oh, Tom, where's Donald Trump on the list?" Donald Trump never appeared on the list. The president never appeared on the list on any of the flight logs, and people are going to fight me tooth and nail because people hate the president, and that's fine. But I did not adjust this list. I didn't make this list. I did look at the flight logs, and I didn't see his name on there. Now, one theory that I did hear, and for the sake of trying to keep an unbiased, because I don't like to sit here and talk about politics, but I will say there are going to be people who are going to say Donald Trump, because there are pictures of Donald Trump with Epstein. There's no denying that. But he's not on the flight logs. Now, one theory that people have is, Donald Trump has his own plane. He probably flew to the island. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, that's just not true. I don't know. I don't know enough about him. I know Donald Trump did kick Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for that sort of behavior. He found out that he was doing that sort of, Chimo stuff at Mar-a-Lago, and he kicked him out, and he's permanently banned. So, but he did say that he was a great guy. And but this is back in the 80s, 90s, and the pictures that I looked up, and that's the funny thing is I was looking up pictures of some of him, of Epstein, and some of his contacts, and I looked up Donald Trump and Epstein, and I found 3 separate occasions. I mean, if you type in Donald Trump Epstein, it'll pop up with hundreds of pictures. But if you look at them, they're all from the same events. There's from 3 different events that they were at together, apparently. And this is back, I mean, you can tell they were both considerably younger. But then, if you type in, you can see on this flight log, you can see Bill Clinton is on the list. And former President William Jefferson Clinton. He is on the list.
Oh, that?
Yeah, that guy. I wanted to clarify. I did want to clarify. But he was on the flight logs 26 separate times. And several of those times, he ditched his Secret Service.
Now, I don't know about that. If it had been 27, I might be a bit suspicious. But 26?
Yeah, I mean,
that's only like once a week for half a year,
yeah,
dude. Come on.
Well, I'm just giving you the numbers. I can't tell you what's you have to draw your own conclusions. And while we're here, let's take a moment real quick, actually, while we're talking about this serious subject, is I want to turn our attention back to the real reason we're here, the Twitch-a-thon. Because let's not forget that
reason for the
Fetusberry's
Oh,
birthday is going to be on the 19th. For those of us who have just joined us, who are just tuning in, Fetusberry's birthday is on September 19th, and he's given so much to the community, to the world, to the world, you know, to let's say just the Twitter community. For those of you who are joining us from Twitter, he's also done stuff for the Twitch community, for the podcast community, for the he's done it for the national stage. He set the, you know, he's done so much for our modern times and even times past and times future, times of future past. And he's done so much, and it's time, I think, that we give something back. I've just received word. I'm receiving word actually right now. I just lied to you. I'm receiving it right now currently. That we have a wealthy donor who's actually called in, and he's promised to match donations of PlayStation Network codes. Codes for Fetusberry's birthday. So if you could get your pledges in now, we can go ahead and we can double that. We can match it with our wealthy donor who chooses to remain anonymous. He's he's a philanthropist who likes to maintain his privacy. But he's asked that we match donations for the next 15 minutes. So please, for the next 15 minutes, call in, get us your information, send us a message on Twitter, get us those PlayStation Network cards for Fetusberry. All right. So moving back into the discussion, let's go back to this flight log here. If you look up Bill Clinton, William Jefferson Clinton, WJC, BC, Bill, any kind of combination, trying to find pictures of Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein, you're gonna find like 3 pictures, and that's it. It's been scrubbed. Like, and you know what? One of the funniest things about it is one of the pictures is actually, and I looked at the site. It's actually talking. Well, actually, I'll just show you the pictures here. We have former President William Jefferson Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein. This is a popular picture. It pops up quite a bit. We have this one, which actually looks photoshopped. I don't even know that it's real. But Jeffrey Epstein, Jacob Ice Cream, actually has a shirt on that says JEE, which I guess implies his initials. I don't know what his middle name is. But he's got a shirt on with his own initials, and if that doesn't scream narcissistic chimo, I don't know what does. But then the other picture that I found of Bill Clinton, looking for pictures of Bill Clinton and Jacob Ice Cream, was this one. It actually has Bill Clinton and Chimo Ice Cream, and it says fake across the front of it, as if like somebody had this picture and their way of refuting the evidence was to simply write fake in big letters across the picture. And
well, that'll do.
That's phoned it in if I ever seen one.
Yeah,
it's like grabbing a Sharpie and writing fake on the picture.
It's like grabbing a Sharpie and drawing the path of the hurricane around Alabama. So
it's like drawing. It's like writing void on your old checks.
That's what happened. Is somebody didn't like that Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein, Jacob Ice Cream were in the same picture, so they wrote fake across the front of it. Which and that's it. You're not going to find many other pictures of them. I know, and you can take this with a grain of salt. I know I've seen countless pictures of Bill Clinton and Jacob Ice Cream, and I couldn't find them on Google. And that's the thing about Google and the Alphabet company. Anything under the Alphabet Incorporated or whatever parent company is they scrub this sort of stuff, and they do. I mean, they've been found to be biased politically. And it's actually all coming out now, and you can actually see it, and we'll talk about that some other time. But we're not going to talk about that today. We're not going to get into politics. But I just wanted to put this out there that it's funny to see that, like, even if you type that, you're going to see pictures, those same 3 events or whatever that I told you about with Trump and Epstein. You're going to see those pictures pop up under Bill Clinton and Epstein or whatever. So it's funny how that works out like that. But, yeah, that's one thing to consider. Please consider this. But then also...
But also, Tom, if you don't mind me chiming in.
No, go ahead, please.
I mean, obviously, that's like the big one that everybody's going to go for. The first thing that everybody's going to go for when they think of this Epstein scandal conspiracy is they're going to go for, presidential candidates or former presidential or presidents, right? They're oh, these are the most important people that were involved, and obviously they want scandal, so those are always going to be the first ones that they go for. But it's deeper than that. And like when I saw this list, it kind of blew me away. Some of the people that were on there, like celebrity-wise, right? Because we were joking recently about the whole Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, yep.
With the little foot.
Well,
and
let's talk about Tarantino. Go ahead and set them up because I've got the picture lined up.
It's kind of like crazy. Like okay, like obviously the president and the former president. Yes, it's one of those things that you go, well, are they on that list? Are they on there? You know, but like what interested me the most is the celebrities, because that's kind of like our royalty in America is everybody, they put these celebrities on this pedestal, and I'd love to watch people fall from grace. And just like the whole Kevin Spacey thing, like to me that was so delicious, because he's like, I hated him as a person, like he's such a piece of shit. And then when they finally, like, it came out, it was like, yes, you suck, and everybody who likes you sucks too, because they didn't know that you sucked, and now you suck, so they suck too.
Yeah, and then he came out as somebody who wanted to live the rest of his life as a sucker, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I get it.
Somebody, thank you. Somebody give me some little smileys, emojis or whatever. I don't know what people do on Twitch, but throw me some little laughing faces if you got the joke. I appreciate that because I need it for my own validation. Go ahead, V. But you were talking about Tarantino. Let's get to Tarantino. I'm itching to show that. Yeah,
so obviously Quentin Tarantino, or as we like to call him, Taran Gaylord. He was on that list, and then we've seen recently some interesting. I don't know what you would call it. You would say it's suspicious. It's definitely a suspicious photo.
Thanks,
and it's one of those things that you look at it and you have to see this picture and kind of make your own judgment, because my first impression was, well, that's a foot is pretty little. Like, are you showing the picture now, Tom?
No. Are we ready? Are we ready to show the picture?
Show the picture.
All right. Ready? Give me a drum roll, Mike.
I fucking knew it.
He's doing it. I know he is. All right. So here we go. So here's the picture of Quentin Taran Gaylord and a little bitty, teeny tiny foot.
Yeah, you have to make your own assessment. But from my personal opinion, my first reaction was, oh, that's a little kid's foot. Now we don't know what that is, obviously, but it looks to be a pretty small foot.
So here's the thing about this picture that I really like. So the picture, originally the caption, I took the captions out because they spelled everything wrong in it, and they had like 40 hashtags in like like not even 3 sentences. It was like probably 10, 15 words. But they had, it originally said, like, if you look at the background in the picture with Tarantino and the kid's foot, you can see what looks like the interior of Jacob Ice Cream's Lolita Express, the Chimo Express. And it looks very similar. I mean, am I saying that there's only like one couch in the world that looks like that? No. But I mean, it's kind of an interesting coincidence nonetheless. But my favorite thing about this picture, I mean, there's not much to like about this picture, there really isn't. But like the first thing I thought of, I mean, yeah, like after the initial shock of, well, that's a little kid's foot, is look at Quentin Tarantino's face. Like, that is the face of a guilty man looking around the room like, are you sure I can fuck this little kid? Like, are you sure I can fuck this kid's feet? Like, is that, that's the look on his face.
Yeah.
And there's no denying that that's what he's thinking in that picture.
Looking for the approval
of somebody. I don't know who you look to for approval to fuck a kid, but like whoever it is.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Ice Cream, is it really okay?
Is it okay? Toss me the Vaseline.
Are you sure?
Like, have you ever seen an adult with feet that tiny? I mean, granted, yeah, they exist, but goodness, look at the little teeny tiny calves. Like, there's no way that is an adult person's calf. So Quentin Tarantino in this picture is clearly sucking on a little kid's toe. And then, like, we look at that flight log list, and his name is right there in, you know, I don't have, like, a thing where I can point it out. But you can see it's alphabetical. Quentin Tarantino's right there. So, anyways,
you need
also...
that John Madden draw on the screen thing.
Do what?
You need that John Madden, like, draw on the screen thing.
Yeah, I need to get my hands on that.
Yeah.
But also, right? I have something here for you.
Toes, and they go into your don't smell food right there.
So the funny thing about Quentin Tarantino is we used to have a joke where, because obviously his movies are good. I mean, there's no denying that his movies are good, and they're fun to watch.
I really enjoyed his last one.
But we used to have a joke where we would say, "Hey, you boys seen Jackie Brown?" like in whatever his movie was or whatever. So, and then we actually started drawing like these big old mustaches.
Because we imagined like if we would meet him, like we didn't know his movie, like we know his movies, but he would still like kind of ask us if we know his movies.
Like maybe hi, I'm Quentin Tarantino. Maybe you've heard of me. I'm the guy who likes to suck on little toes or whatever on fair plates.
I'm Quentin Tarantino. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
But
perhaps you've seen some of my films, such Pulp Fiction, Hateful Eight, Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2.
Oh, I haven't seen the second one, Quentin. You know what I have seen? I have seen you sucking on little kids' toes. So, I don't know if you guys are able to see the screen right now. Are you guys able to see what's going on the screen right now?
I see that nice meme about kid foot. I'm not crazy about that aspect, but I like the one. He looks so pensive.
So that's that's actually what it looks like when there aren't any kids' feet to lick. That's what you look like when you walk around the house, apparently.
Oh,
so
maybe that facial expression is simply about whether or not it's the case of the little kid toes on Epstein's island. That's the look of a heavy soul.
It is. There's no denying that in those pictures, he's longing for those days. I mean, he was obviously younger. Do you think he's thinking about that in those pictures? Hold on, let me get back to it. Do you think he's thinking about that moment? There are times where, like,
very good picture.
I have certain memories that, like, will always pop into my head just randomly of, like, things that have happened. And there's, like, 4 or 5 of them that will just pop into my head randomly when I'm not doing anything. And, like, I gotta believe, like, for any normal person, well, I mean, you can't say normal because they sucked a toe of a kid. But, like, you gotta think that that'd be something that pops into your head every once in a while. Even if you're a pedophile. Like, or, dang it. Oh, man, I gotta drink. Oh, man. I gotta do a whole shot?
Gotta do a shot.
Hold on.
I gotta do a shot,
buddy. There's the rules, buddy.
All right.
So, yeah, even as a child, you gotta be, like, walking around your house, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, that's right. At the time I was on Jeffrey Jingleheimer Ice Cream's private pleasure island, and I sucked the toes of that little kid, man. Shit.
What a disgusting human being. All right, because I didn't say Chimo. All right. It's delicious. Oh my gosh, it's not delicious. It's actually like it's hard to describe the flavor. Let me do a commercial here. It's hard to describe.
Gotta go.
All right. Good night, Matt.
Bye, Matt.
We love you. Mike in Manitoba said, "This is so wrong." Let me do a commercial for El Silencio. All right, it's a I don't even know what it is. It was recommended to me by a friend. It's 100% agave. I guess it's a kind of a tequila, is the way it was described to me, and it's this one is called the Mezcal Espadín. I believe is how it's pronounced. My Spanish is a bit rusty, but it's actually. I'm a fan of Lefroy scotches and Glengoynes and like the real strong, smoky kind of taste, peaty kind of taste of scotches. And this is, I guess, the tequila equivalent of it. It's a very, very strong taste. It tastes almost like, the way it was described to me was like eating a charcoal after a campfire. And I can taste why the person would say that. To me, it kind of tastes like leather. It tastes a little bit like leather. And in a good way. So
yeah, that sounds to me like you're drinking mezcal. Because mezcal tastes like leather.
Well, that's what it actually says, mezcal at the top. So, El Silencio, this episode is brought to you by in part by mezcal. And while we're on the while we're taking a moment to talk about these issues that are coming up, some of our sponsors, let's take a moment to remind our audience and any kind of new viewers, anybody who's just tuned in. Today we're doing a special Twitch-a-thon for my friend and yours, Fetusberry Crunch. His birthday is on September 19th, so in a few days, actually. And he's asked for nothing.
Everybody.
But he doesn't even want your love and affection. What he really wants
I don't need it.
is PlayStation Network codes. And you can actually purchase them on Amazon. And what I recommend is that you go to smile.amazon.com and donate to your favorite nonprofit with every purchase. And it doesn't cost you anything extra. It just takes a portion of your order, and what it does is it puts it towards this nonprofit charitable organization. And go on there and buy yourself a PlayStation. Well, not buy yourself, but buy a PlayStation Network code, and send it to our friend Fetusberry Crunch for his birthday, and so we can celebrate it together. We can celebrate it on PlayStation Network together, playing. What games are you playing right now? Grand Theft Auto Online. What else are you playing?
I had GTA 5 online. I'm playing Doom from 1993 and Doom 2, the sequel. I got those because they were cheap.
I don't need anybody but soldiers.
Yeah. A young Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yeah.
Back then he was actually going by. No, back then his name was actually Rocky Maivia, if I remember correctly, the People's Champion.
Well, he was Rocky Maivia, but not in '93.
I'm pretty sure he was. You know what? Back then he was throwing wiffle balls straight as an arrow. I remember.
He never could, and you're a dirty liar. Rocky would never do that to me. Dwayne is a dear, dear friend.
I'm going to have a lot of names that I have to put.
Throw a wiffle ball straight.
I'm going to ask The Rock. I'm going to personally ask The Rock if you can throw a wiffle ball straight, and I guarantee he's going to tell you, it doesn't matter if you can throw a wiffle ball straight, you Rudy Poo candy ass.
I'll say this much. If anybody can do it, it probably is The Rock, though, to be honest.
Let The Rock tell you something. It doesn't matter what you do or what you don't do with the wiffle ball. Here's what you can do with that wiffle ball. The Rock is going to tell you. He'll lay it out flat for you. What you do is you take that wiffle ball, you shine it up real nice, turn that sumbitch sideways, and stick it up your candy ass. Yeah. You can't turn a ball sideways because it's a sphere, but you get it.
Well...
I mean, I have.
You know what? Here's the thing. Here, he wouldn't need to stick it straight up your candy ass, because you know what he would do? I'm gonna take that wiffle ball, I'm gonna turn it sideways, and I'm gonna lob it in a straight line directly into your Rudy Poo candy ass. It can be. I'm telling you. He's gonna do it. So, Lee, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
If there were any,
I was kind of going things on the internets here, and I came across some interesting things, like some connections. You know, we all know these chimos in their little Hollywood world are all connected, right? Well, this whole thing with Quentin Tarantino and his licking of the foot and all that. Well, listen to this. One of the interesting things about Quentin Tarantino is that he's friends with Roman Polanski.
Oh, weird.
And Roman Polanski is actually... He's even in his most recent movie. Like, Roman Polanski is in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And so, like, Roman Polanski, I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with his kind of scandal, but he raped... Okay, he raped... In case you don't know, which I know, Tom, your sarcasm knows no bounds, but in case you don't know, he raped a girl, a 14-year-old girl, right? The same, right? So this happens, like, a while ago, like I want to say 80s, 70s, and don't quote me on that because I'm not positive of the time frame.
Back when Rocky Maivia was whipping wiffle balls in a straight line. Back in those days.
It never happened.
So this is what the dickhead does. The dickhead, he rips some 14-year-old girl, and then they go and they call him in for questioning, and the dude flees the country. He just bounces. If that doesn't say, I don't know what does. but he never got in trouble for it. Like he got like there's this weird thing. Like he came back to the country, and then the girl was like, "Well, I'm an adult now, and I was okay with it back then," and so they don't care. Nobody cared. Like it was fucking weird, dude. And then so now he comes back to the U.S. and he does The Pianist, right, which is an Academy Award-winning movie,
which is actually pronounced
right?
penis.
And then gets involved. Yeah, The Pianist.
It's a good dick joke, buddy.
Thank you. Starring Adrian Brody's penis.
Yep. A wiffle ball. But my point is this. It all goes back to the Occam's razor, right? It's the simplest explanation. They're all fucking chimos, dude. All of them. They're all fucking chimos. You see that list? Like, I implore you, audience, take a chance and look at that list when in your off time, because you will be flabbergasted. You'll go, "Oh my God, Robert Downey Jr. is on that list," and you'll kind of be sad, like, "Damn, like, I like that dude," or you'll see somebody else, like fucking Bill Clinton.
So we had Roman Polanski. He's actually in what is that? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
The most recent Tarantino. Yeah, he's in that. Roman Polanski's in that.
Like, even though he's a chimo, it's still a good movie. So was The Pianist.
Well, that's fine. I mean, the pianist. The pianist is a different thing. But what I'm saying is, okay, so Polanski was, he was in, so he was in the movie, but wasn't he also in a relationship with Sharon Tate, who was murdered by Charlie Manson, which is the basis of Tarantino's movie?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of that's true. I don't know about the rest of it. I assume it is.
I don't know all of that. Well, in the movie, that's not what happened. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, because I really enjoyed it. Like, I really enjoyed that movie, and I'd hate to spoil it, but I think it's based on honest.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows that it's all about Charlie Manson and the Manson family. And Charlie directed the family to go and murder pregnant Sharon Tate. Roman Polanski wasn't home at the time, so
Mike
he
in
survived.
Manitoba said yes, and then Sasquatch girl, she actually confirmed it that they were married.
Yeah.
So
nailed it.
You were correct about that, but I think we're also in agreement that you were wrong
Don't you talk
about
to
the
me about the fucking wiffle ball. See? I knew it. You son of a bitch. I knew you were going to go for the wiffle ball, you son of a bitch. No, so isn't that strange, though, that here's Roman Polanski after all these years playing Roman Polanski in a Tarantino movie about his murdered pregnant wife?
That is fascinating.
Someone could do a
graphic of a wiffle ball.
Who put that there?
You son of a bitch.
But yeah, you can see in the picture.
How did that get there?
Yeah, you can see in the picture. It's flying straight.
You can see right there. No. You can see right there. The ball's got holes in it. It doesn't fly straight. It whiffles.
Snope.
No. Oh, no.
Hey, so moving on, let's talk a little bit here about, let's move on from the wiffle ball, because we all know that Tom Miller's right on this one. Snopes confirmed it, PolitiFact confirmed it. But let's not forget about the interesting painting of Bill Clinton that was found in the Epstein household. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I got it up on the screen here.
That picture of Hillary in the bikini.
No, I didn't put that on there, but I did. You know what? I do have a question. I do have a question for the viewer at home, Mom. I want to know: would you rather fuck Bill Clinton in this blue dress, or Hillary Clinton in the same blue dress? So let's ask you guys. What do you guys think? Would you rather? I'll go ahead and give my answer here. This is one of those rare circumstances in which I, Tom Miller, would much rather fuck Bill Clinton. I'm just gonna say it.
So, hey, was that picture with Springsteen?
What happened?
I don't know what happened. That picture of her in the blue dress, that was with Springsteen, right?
Oh, I don't know. I can go back to it. Oh yeah, that does look like
Bruce.
him. Look at him biting his lip. Look at him biting his lip like, oh my god, I don't want to be here.
Can't be around her. Yeah.
I can't do can you do a Springsteen impression, Feats? Can you do one?
No.
Okay.
Not really.
Well, I was hoping, but you know, I guess like the
Now, I can
So
work
you
on it.
I can
You need to
have
work
the
on it.
picture of Clinton.
Yeah, of course I have the picture in him.
He's trying so hard to get through.
So do you think like how is that not a big deal right now? Like, doesn't it ever bother the 24-hour news cycle? You know what I mean? Like the 24-hour news cycle, it's like, oh, they found a picture of Bill Clinton, but they don't put it on the news or anything. Like they don't show you.
Right. So
Like,
here's the
here's
thing, and I know you know why they don't show Bill Clinton in a dress on and associated with Jeffrey Epstein, Jacob Ice Cream. I know you know why that's not on the news. But for those of you at home, the news, I'm going to go Alex Jones here for you, all right? I'm going to switch it to my mic, or to my camera. The news is lying to you, Mike in Manitoba. No, I can't do an impression of him, but I can. They're turning the friggin' frogs gay. You know, like I can do that sort of thing. But the news is lying to you, like all the time. Like it doesn't matter what news source you go to, they are all lying to you, and they are all bought and paid for by somebody. And somebody they are beholden to somebody, and for that reason, the news will always and forever lie to you. So the only way that you're going to get straight news is if you go on Amazon.com right now, smile.amazon.com, and you buy a PlayStation Network code, and you send it directly to the You Had Me podcast on Twitter, or you can send it to @Fetusberry, and so we can all celebrate his birthday together. Let's be real. That's what this whole night is really about.
What we'll do in exchange for your generous donation is either Tom or myself, your choice, donor's choice. We'll tell you the truth. How about that? We will share with you the unflinching truth. We will expose you to new levels of veracity heretofore unimagined, imperceptible. You wouldn't be able to perceive it. You couldn't percept it.
Yeah,
we'll do that for you.
We will do that. That's what we're going to do.
Fucking wiffle ball. God damn it.
There's only one truth, you guys. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
My birthday is the 19th.
So what we're doing is I'm actually getting word right now. Not only are they going to give or they're not just going to match it. They're going to, what's the word, 3 times. They're going to triplicate it.
Triple it.
Yeah, they're going to triple
it. What's the word 3 times?
Yeah, they're going to do that. They're going to, you got to remember, I've been having to drink and I accidentally said the P word and I had to drink another shot of that leather beverage. So
it was which word?
It was I
don't know, V. That sounds pretty close to me, man.
I tried to do it like a fart noise. I tried to do the like I tried to do like Cher's voice. Like that's what I was trying to do.
I don't know, man.
You guys take it to a vote. You guys take it to a vote. Take it to a vote. Do I have to drink for that one? Do I have to drink it for the Cher farting?
There you go. Who's got to blast one out? Is Tommy got to blast one out because he said the P word instead of saying China?
What do we have to say? What's going on now? Are we voting or are we? I thought you guys were going to vote. Oh, you're saying does the crowd have to vote?
Are you a cake?
Why don't we do this?
I don't know. I was ready to argue the case for anybody who listened, man. That's my jam.
Let's do this. All right. Let's put it up to the fan to decide. All right. If you guys think, all right, we have one vote for drink pussy. Fan. So anybody else who thinks I should vote or thinks I should drink, go ahead and put it in the comments below. And in 5 minutes' time, we will decide if we get three votes for me to drink another shot of this this fine El Silencio, then I will drink it because I said the P word. So moving on. Let's move on while we wait for everybody.
What we can do is we can do it like the old polyphonic ringtones where it's like text 1 to 9526. Remember those?
Yeah. Well, we can do that then.
Right.
So text 1 if you want me to drink. So moving on. Let's talk about.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to talk a little bit about where Epstein's been these last couple weeks. Would you guys agree that's a good topic to move on to? So let's talk about there's actually a picture of Epstein dead on the slab, all right? And I'm going to share a picture, but the interesting thing about this picture is it shows him dead on the slab, and then it also shows a side profile of him when he was still alive and also lying down because he was suntanning like 2 weeks before. So we're going to go ahead and look at that real quick. Somebody actually shared this. And if you look at it, I remember seeing the picture of Epstein when he was dead on the slab. It was a paramedic who shared the picture publicly. And if you look at that, it's really difficult to make a case that is in fact Epstein dead on the slab. I mean, he looks a little bit like him, but he also looks like Judd from Pet Sematary. Oh, you don't want to go down that path over there. I'll tell you about that another day. You know.
Yeah, I have seen this exact picture. The shape of the sort of the size ear is all wrong. The ear profile is wrong. Some hair growth is to be expected, but I don't know. That looks a little shaggy. The nose shape is wrong as well. There's a certain amount of sagging that's done when somebody dies, sure, but it does not account for that. And on top of that, also there's some unsubstantiated accounts from people who worked in that prison who were saying that hours before Epstein's air quotes suicide, he actually had audience, some private time, with a girl who's about 14, unsupervised.
And you know what else?
There was actually somebody who.
No, go ahead. I think we were going to say the same thing. Go ahead and finish what you're saying. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, it's there was somebody else who said that they worked at a prison who said that they actually had some like dudes in black vehicles come through and like push through some paperwork and pretty much like swoop Epstein's body, and then not too long after that we've got photos of him, who appears to be him, on his friggin' island. You're turning the frogs gay.
Yeah, so I'm actually sharing that picture right now of them on the of him supposedly on the island. That dude looks exactly like him, and this because it's drone footage. This isn't like and the dude looks straight up, just like, well, he's looking straight up in the picture, but he looks absolutely like identical to Jacob Ice Cream.
Oh, that's a dead rat.
Yeah, and he's looking up like he's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, he's looking up saying, "Are you sure I can fuck this chick's toes?" Like that's what to me that's what that picture is putting across.
Well, and then apparently, as a continuation, the next thing that happened in that footage after he spotted the drone was he hopped in that truck and fucking hightailed it.
Yeah, I believe it. I would if I was supposed to be dead, you know. And I had a picture of Bill Clinton up on the wall in a dress. You know what's funny about that?
If you know what's alive, had a picture of Bill Clinton, I'd hop in that truck and go home and spend a little, mix a batch.
Yeah, throw a couple wiffle balls in a straight line. Yeah.
Let's take a moment and think about this though, where it's bizarre. Like, let's be honest, it's bizarre that he has a painting. He has a painting of Bill Clinton.
All right, Mike, we love you, and we will see you. We'll see you on Twitter naturally.
We love you, Mike.
Go ahead, B.
I was just saying, it's bizarre. It's definitely bizarre that he has a picture or a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress. But I mean, like, let's take out all the variables and think about it from like a specific standpoint. Like, if you had like the ability to blackmail, like like, don't put yourself in his Chimo shoes, but I mean, like, think about this. Imagine you have the ability to blackmail the most powerful people in the world. Would you not want, like, a trophy of the most powerful person, like, that you could blackmail?
Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing. He's got a painting that somebody commissioned to, like, somebody painted that. You know what I mean? It's not like somebody photoshopped it. Like, it's something somebody spent time doing.
Sat down and they were like, "You want me to paint what?"
It's like, I want you to paint Bill Clinton wearing the dress that he fucked Monica Lewinsky in. You know, and
then I feel like at that point the painter would be like, man, and then John Jacob Ice Cream would be like, I could ruin you with a word, and the painter's like, man, oh my god, look, this is the last time, right? Pretty good. I don't want to do any more of this weird shit anymore, man.
There's another picture that they found, I guess, at his estate, and I don't have it here on me right now, but there's a picture, and you can find it. It's George W. Bush, former President W, and he's sitting on the floor, Indian style, holding a paper airplane, and then there's like in the Oval Office, and then there's like little tower toys or like models on the floor, and he's like throwing paper airplanes at these two little models or whatever of the basically of the Trade Center. Yeah, and like that's a picture, another painting that he's got. So
yeah, the implications of that. That's wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hang on, I think I may have that on my phone. I'm going to see if I can find it for you guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
do your thing. Just
yeah. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about I didn't even get a chance to talk about this because I did want to talk a little bit about the funeral of Jacob Ice Cream, because there was a funeral, all right? Apparently. So I read the article about it. It says eccentric financier and pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Ah, that's not fair. That was a news article. Oh, dang it.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, here, I'll tell you what.
The vote was that you had to drink anyway, buddy.
No, it was only two. It was only two people.
No.
So, anyways, I will drink for that one. But meanwhile, I'll pour myself the drink and then I'll drink it here after I finish reading this. So, eccentric financier and Chimo Jeffrey Epstein, who once held lavish dinners for scientists and discussed his support of transhumanism, was laid to rest in an unmarked grave next to his parents Seymour and Paula, the Mirror reported on Thursday. Epstein was laid to rest at the I.J. Morris Star of David Cemetery in Florida near Palm Beach. Jeffrey Jacob Ice Cream buried in unmarked grave with family names removed. Sex offender who died in custody. Ah, gosh, I'm having a hard time reading. Ice Cream was laid to rest at the I.J. Morris Star of David Cemetery near Palm Beach, Florida, which is something that I already read. I don't know why I copied and pasted it twice. But yeah, so you can see I actually have footage from the funeral on the screen right now. I don't know if you guys were able to see it.
Oh boy.
So what's a transhumanism? What is that? I've never heard that term.
That's a good question.
It's somebody who wants to move human consciousness beyond the flesh.
So that's kind of what you talk about, V, isn't it? I don't mean to out you here, but you're kind of into transhumanism.
The whole like wanting to. Well, that's kind of interesting though. That kind of makes you wonder about his death, because we're on the cusp of that. Like the whole what do you call it? Surrogates and removing their sentience to put into a robot and all that stuff. Like, what if there's a robot Epstein out there?
Well, there is.
Skynet, dude.
We know there is, because he's on that island. The drone just showed footage of it. Or he's dead on a slab somewhere. And that's why it only kind of looked like him. You know what I mean?
But I mean, we're on the cusp of that. We're on the cusp of that, and it's not unreasonable to think that, like, this extremely wealthy man with, like, all the powerful people in his pocket does not have the ability to, find reanimation somehow. And I know that sounds ludicrous, and that is kind of like a far-fetched idea, but there's research right now. Like there's this Russian dude they call the 2045 initiative, and I always ramble about this, but they're basically trying to achieve immortality, through three different means, and one of them is to put your conscious in a surrogate, like a biological, half mechanical body, like you would be in a chair, like in that movie, The Surrogates, and then you can transfer your consciousness to this other being, right? And then they have one where it's just a straight robot, where you put your conscious into a robot, basically, and you'd be a mechanical being with your sentience inside that. And then they have another one where it's basically like they clone you, and then you just put your sentience in that. Now, this is all obvious. I don't know the science behind it, but there is a Russian dude, a billionaire, that's working to achieve this. It's called the 2045 initiative, and it's totally real. And it's funny because it sounds like this evil scheme.
You sound like a crazy person right now, V. All this.
Exactly. It sounds like an evil scheme perpetuated by some nut scientist, but there's really this crazy Russian dude out there trying to do this.
I like how you're like, it sounds like this crazy thing, like this crazy person who's doing this thing, but there's really this nut who's out. You ended up admitting that he was a crazy person. So, no, I agree.
Okay, so
who's talking?
So it's not unreasonable to think that the possibility is closer than we think. 2045 isn't that far away.
Out of the far-flung future.
Did you just order a pizza, Feats? Is that what I was hearing?
I had a phone call. I have a life. You don't own me.
Was it The Rock telling you that you can throw a wiffle ball straight?
No.
I've been waiting for a callback of that joke forever. I feel like the wiffle ball joke was just like waiting to happen.
You know what I've been waiting for?
Been waiting for like a week.
No, you know what I've been waiting for? I've been waiting for you at home to send a message to us with a PlayStation Network code for Fetusberry's birthday on September 19th. I want you to go onto Amazon right now, and I want you to go ahead and look up. If you look right now, I'll share with you on Fetusberry's screenshot here. You can see what it looks like. There are PlayStation Network codes, and you can actually go on there, and you just get its numbers. They give you numbers. When you receive those numbers, you take the numbers and the letter. I guess there's probably letters in there too, as I recall. You take the numbers and the letters, the combination, and you send it to my friend and yours, Fetusberry. You send it directly to him, or you can send it to us, and we'll share it. We'll share it directly with Fetusberry. We have no reason to keep his PlayStation Network code. Absolutely no reason whatsoever. I would never do such a thing. So if you could send it to You Had Me Podcast, and if you send it to us, we'll go ahead and make sure that he gets it, or we'll use it ourselves. And to celebrate his birthday on September 19th. But that's what tonight's all about, really. Is this Twitch-a-thon, this Skype-a-thon, this what are we calling it? What we need to come up with we're good with either one of those. So this PSN-a-thon, this penis-a-thon.
Yeah. Penis-a-thon.
Yeah. So
I knew
that's what I'm waiting for. Anyways, let's wrap this up because we're losing viewers, and I do want to make sure that we cover everything. Right here is actually a picture of Jeffrey Epstein. He sent a picture of himself in the mirror. He was sexting with a tween. I'm sorry, and he sent a picture of himself. And yeah, disgusting human being. And he's sending this sort of stuff to our friends and family, to our children, to our nephews and nieces, to our grandchildren even. In some cases, he and Quentin Tarantino are getting together and sending each other elevated pictures of himself completely nude in the bathroom, threatening them. I can't do it. That picture always makes me laugh. But yeah, one other thing that I did want to touch on while we were here is there's a gentleman named Jean-Luc Brunel. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. You have to talk to Macron, the president of France.
Yes.
French asshole or what?
Yeah. So this gentleman,
The way you said that, president of France.
Jean-Luc Brunel, the modeling agent boss who was accused of scouting young girls for Jeffrey Epstein and date raping others. This is a news article I'm reading, and it actually uses the term date raping. I always forget that that's a word. Others has mysteriously, and it's I'm aware that it's a word, but gosh, I mean, you think that there'd be some kind of somebody somewhere along the editorial staff that says, "Oh, you can't say date raping." Has mysteriously vanished.
Well, it used to have to be a word.
So standards and practices would say otherwise, and they would also say that the wiffle ball cannot be thrown. It can be thrown straight. It cannot. It's not necessarily limited to a path of crooked waving, weaving. So, but he's mysteriously vanished like a ghost as investigators search the world looking for him. So these guys are looking all over the world. French authorities. French authorities are trying to find the 17-year-old. He'd probably be somebody that Epstein, chimoed, and question a 72-year-old Brunel, and question him over his ties to ice cream as part of the ongoing probe into the now dead Chimo, who has a house in Paris. A legal source in Paris said he is the ghost who has disappeared without a trace. That's actually talking about this. It's a joke.
Wow.
This gentleman, he's a model management who supposedly supplied child hookers to Epstein. I don't know if they're that's human trafficking.
When articles use unscientific things like he's a ghost who disappeared.
Well, you know what? They're just quoting a guy. They're quoting a guy. They're not it's not like they're out here. It's not like it's based on any kind of journalistic standards. They're actually quoting a guy who's a legal source in Paris. They didn't, and they do the typical news thing where they're an unnamed anonymous source.
And they were like,
it's a ghost
about this man, and he was like, well, I tell you, it's a ghost. Disappear.
Let me put my nose on. All right, I did
what it is to be everywhere at once.
So I have one more article I want to read, and then we'll move on. Let me see if I can find a good picture to put up while we're talking about this. Actually, I do have a picture. We did talk about him earlier, the president. I don't think we have enough viewers to where I'm going to hurt anybody's feelings if I say our beloved president, Donald Trump. We did talk about him earlier, and I didn't do him. I did him a disservice by not showing a tasteful, flattering picture of him. I know we talked about it a little bit about him with Epstein, and I'd rather not show those pictures because they're not interesting, and I'm just perpetuating this this Robert Mueller type attitude of we need to impeach Donald Trump. Blah, 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 blah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a totally appropriate and flattering picture of the President of the United States, whom I wholeheartedly support, and I hope that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. And you know what? I just realized that this is actually going to be saved, and people are going to be able to watch it later. So all that stuff I just said, there's going to be a bunch of people who are going to hate me for that. But here's a flattering picture of the President of the United States.
Actually, can you let me know, and I'm sure your audience will know how to be able to watch all of it later, because I'd like to know how to watch it all later myself.
So you can actually, I'll go ahead and, hey, Hero of Legends 25. You'll be able to actually go to the You Had Me podcast page on Twitch, and you will be able to go to our videos. And what the problem was last week was we had a once-in-a-lifetime live stream where people were able to go and watch us while we were live, but they were not able to go back later and watch the replay of the video. And I was a little frustrated with that because James had told me, and I'm going to bash on James because he's in the chat now. He's been here the whole time. I've just been totally ignoring him.
He's here now.
But he is here now. That is an accurate statement. But he had told me that he told me that it saved your videos and it saved your streams, which I was like, all right, cool. And I didn't think anything of it. I just ran the stream, and we did it wasn't a great show, but I mean, we did some funny stuff on it, and I regret not being able to go back and watch it again and record it and put it on the podcast.
Wait.
But yeah,
Was that the one
Feeds.
that was on?
Yeah, it was. It was the one you were on. It didn't
What
get
the
saved.
fuck?
No, listen.
That was a fantastic show.
Well, here's the thing, Feeds. It's a once in a lifetime. Like, that's going to be the one that people talk about because only however many people were
That's
there.
the one that set up the whole fucking wiffle ball thing. So what have we been doing?
Nothing. We've been talking so that other people can laugh. So, for those of you at home who are curious, Fetusberry Crunch thinks that you can throw a wiffle ball in a straight line, which is ridiculous.
Fetusberry knows that you cannot throw a wiffle ball in a straight line.
Yeah. No, he said otherwise last week. Now he's changing his tune. But anyways, so moving on.
I know for a fact you can't throw a wiffle ball in a straight line, you son of a bitch. I
So-
ain't changing damn down, telling you straight up
see,
right now till the day I
see.
die you can't throw a wiffle ball in a straight damn line.
So-
Impossible.
As much as I love
Yes.
as much as I love Fetusberry, I will say this: his thoughts on the wiffle ball are absolutely incorrect. But there is one thing about Fetusberry that we all know, and that, you know, his birthday's coming up on September 19th, and this whole episode we've been trying to get the message out there that his birthday is coming up, and he's asked for nothing of you other than for you to go to Amazon.com, smile.amazon.com, and choose your preferred non-taxable, non-profit charity of choice, and purchase a PlayStation Network code and send it to him for his birthday. That's all he wants from you, the fans, the listeners at home.
Roddy on the board. How many? Where are we in terms of contributions? Can we go to Roddy on the board? We got Roddy.
Roddy,
over
are
on
you out there?
camera?
Roddy? No, he's not on camera right now, but what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll switch it back to, I'll switch it back to the picture of our beloved president. And Roddy, if you could go ahead and tell us what it's like, what we're looking at on the board.
Yeah, what's the total there, Roddy?
Yeah, so we're sitting at $0, $0 and 0 PlayStation Network cards right now. Back to you in the studio.
So what am I doing?
Huh?
So what am I doing here? I gotta get my manager on the line. What is this? He said, "Oh, come on, we'll have a couple of laughs. It'll be great. We'll get you some PlayStation gift card." And now here we are. No, I'm gonna call up my manager.
Fetus. Hey, get with me
I'm
off.
calling my agent.
Fetus, get with me offline, and I'll tell you what's going on. What's going on for real. Fetus.
Hey, somebody better tell me something.
Fetus, come over here. Let me tell you what's going on.
Christ. What?
Fetus, are you listening?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What?
Fetus. So what? Here's what's happening. It turns out, all right. Fetus, are you listening?
Yeah.
Fetus, are you there?
Yeah.
I can't. Fetus, are you?
Yeah.
Can't hear me. Fetus, I can't hear you.
Oh my God.
Apparently we
This
lost.
is
I don't know
worse
what
than
happened
talking
to.
my-
I don't know what happened to Roddy. He's not here right now. He's no longer answering. We lost connection. You're gonna have to get with him offline, as he said.
Call my manager, man.
So here's what we need you to do at home. For Roddy, for Fetus, for everybody, we need you to go ahead and sign on to Amazon and get that PlayStation Network code and get it over to Fetusberry. Time now, so we can celebrate. And if not time now, hey, we're easy. Feets is easy. All right. If you get it to him before the 19th,
I'm very easy.
he's easy like Sunday morning. And what we want you to do,
Yeah.
we want you to dig into your pockets, pull out your little pocketbook. I don't know if people put the pocketbook. Dig into your heart. Yeah. Pull out that little V6. If this is, hey, listen. If you're under the age of 18 and you're listening, go to your mother's pocketbook, and I want you to pull out the wallet. And there's going to be a card with a bunch of numbers on it. It's called a credit card. All right. And that's not even real money. It's not even real money. Half the time, your mom probably leaves it logged in on the computer downstairs, anyways. So go ahead and log on to Amazon.com, and you can go ahead and purchase that PlayStation Network
magical
code.
card that makes dreams come true.
Yeah. And while you're there, get one for yourself. If you're under the age of 18.
Get a little something nice for you.
Yeah. Get the PlayStation Network card. She'll never know. She'll never know.
On my tab, on your mom's card.
Put on my tab.
Do it for Fetusberry. Do it for you. All right, so moving on. I'm going to bring us back to the picture. I think, where was that Epstein nudes picture? I'm going to put that one back up because it cracks me up. But I'm going to go ahead and read this last little article, and then we're going to go ahead and call it a day. In 2018, this is going to blow your guys' mind. The Palm Beach Daily News reported on this gentleman's death. But there wasn't much to report concerning the cause. I feel like there should have been a name there. So what happened? I guess I copied and pasted a little too short. So, gosh, was I drinking before I started? So what happened was there was a detective. All right, who investigated Jeffrey Epstein back in like 2008, back in those days, and he died after a very brief illness, like out of nowhere. Like, and he was 50. He was 50 years old, which is like the new 40, is what they say. And so this guy, he just randomly died after a brief illness. So I'll read the article now that you know who I'm talking about. But there wasn't much to report concerning the cause. Joseph Ricari, a former Palm Beach detective who had a knack for making others smile, who tackled the island's largest and most important investigations, and who cared deeply for his family and friends, died Friday, May 25th, 2018, after a brief illness. He was 50. Now, do bear in mind that it was 2018, but this was, last year, and it was still, we were kind of aware of what was going on with Jeffrey Epstein. Ricari was one of the most decorated police officers in the history of the department, with more than 150 commendations, 11 Officer of the Month awards, and a 2013 Palm Beach Police Foundation Officer of the Year award. He worked in several units, including the Organized Crime Vice and the Narcotics Unit and the Palm Beach County State's Attorney's Public Integrity Unit. He was the lead detective in many major investigations, including the high-profile solicitation of minors case against billionaire Chimo Jeffrey Epstein. So, so this cop. You know what's interesting to me, and I'll say this. I'm going to say this for the benefit of everybody who's listening. I keep forgetting that there's going to be people who can actually view this later. So for the benefit of not only the people who are watching right now, James, my mom, is you look at like people want to attack certain individuals, saying, "Oh man, this guy's corrupt, this guy's dirty," and like we can sit here and we can watch these investigations unfold, and nobody dies. But then as soon as certain people are investigated, like even a little bit, like if people start digging into the background of certain individuals, like consistently, every time that person, that individual, that group, whatever, starts getting investigated, that investigator dies. Like if that doesn't strike you as suspicious, I don't know, like I wish I could be in your position where I lived my life in this constant state of like, it's weird. It's not suspicious at all. I wish I was dumb as hell. I wish I was dumb as hell, and I thought that wiffle balls couldn't be thrown in a straight line. I wish I was that person. But
So straight line, ball goes straight line. Whiffles.
So, but no, that's always been like, I don't care who you are, and this is not my quote. This is something that I'm stealing from somebody else, from a meme on Facebook or whatever. But I'm sure it's from Facebook. But I don't care who you are. You don't have like 100 friends who commit suicide. Like I don't care how many friends you have. Statistically, that is impossible. That like 100 of your friends would die by suicide, which is like fun fact. Like you're not supposed to say somebody committed suicide. You're supposed to say somebody died by suicide. That's like the new PC term. But yeah, like that's statistically impossible or improbable at the very least.
They committed don't alive no more. And here's another thing.
That's the term. Actually,
isn't it suspicious how many people out there who have said that they have information that could lead to the arrest of a certain someone whose name rhymes with Billary Broadham Blinton, right?
Yeah.
How many of those people are turned after having committed don't alive no more by twice in the back of the head?
So, and that's the funny thing is like, say what you will about the president. Everybody's entitled to that. That's like one of our God-given rights. you are allowed to say what you want about the man. But, like, when he gets investigated, the investigators don't die. So, like, what does that tell you about him versus, like, other people? You know what I mean? But,
well, it's like they live long enough to be like, eh.
So
they live long enough that they're like, so what are your findings on Trump? And they're like, eh.
Yeah, and then they end up testifying before the committee, and they're like, yeah, well, we didn't exonerate him of a crime, which is like the new standard of crime fighting, I guess. I don't know, but so
okay, where it's like,
and let me.
He did not do it.
Well, we can't prove that OJ didn't kill his wife and fucking her boyfriend or whatever, or her new husband. Yeah. I don't know who it was. I was a young kid at the time. I was back throwing whiff balls in a straight line back then.
It was like a waiter, man.
You were never throwing whiff balls in a straight, you son of a
one of these times I'm going to sneak it past you.
In front of everybody, man.
90% of the time I am lying in front of everybody on the internet. But let's go ahead and wrap this up because, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark and, we'll let everybody. I know people who are not watching it right now. We don't have hardly any viewers right now, but like the people who are watching it later, they're gonna want to, go on about their day. I know. Here, let me give a special shout out to. I mean, gosh, who do we have to give shout outs to? I'm gonna do mine, and then you guys do yours. I will say Lil Lottie 69, which is her name, which is I think it's hilarious. I think anybody who puts 69 at the end of their username, I think that's really funny, and I have no
immediately funnier.
Yeah, like if you put 69 at the end, and she's been harassing me the last couple of days about not having the availability to watch shows later. I mean, like as much as I want to sit here and pretend like we're the kind of show that you either watch us live or nothing, you don't TiVo us, you watch us live, and that's it. I understand that there are some people. She lives in England, and she's been a fan of the show since since the beginning, about damn near. And I do want to say thank you to Matt Squatch, thank you to Mike and Manitoba for attending, thank you for Sassy Squatch, thank you guys for coming. It's been Dying Rose. I know you've been here for a hot minute. Hero of Legends, you came in late. Shame on you. And Jamis, thanks for, even though I know you're working today, I appreciate you coming in and being in the chat or whatever it is that you do. And for hosting us on your channel as well. Well, here's the thing with James is he does us a huge solid, and I will say this about James. I know I like to give him shit, and I will forever give him shit until the day on my deathbed. Mark my words. If I am on my deathbed, or if I am dead and dying in a ditch, or after like a tragic car accident, and I can say my final words, it's going to be something fucked up about James, just to be funny. But I will say what whatever about James, but. He also, he has a pretty big following on Twitch, and anytime we go live and he's not actively doing something on his Twitch stream, our show goes on his stream, so, all his viewers are like, oh, cool, something's going on James's stream, and then they tune in, so, we have more viewers than our viewers that are, logged on the thing. But he did also buy me this shirt. I'll see if I can get it all on the screen. Socialism is for figs, the Louder with Crowder shirt, and I love it. I do. I told my wife about it, and she said, "So you're gonna hang it up somewhere?" And I said, "No, I'm gonna wear it everywhere." And she said, "You are not wearing that everywhere." And I said, I said, "Well, fuck it. I'll just wear it on. I'll wear it on the show, and then I'll wear it around the house. So it's gonna be so smelly because I'm just gonna wear it all the time." Which is why I'm wearing a shirt underneath it, so it doesn't smell as bad. But yeah, so I do. I'll say that loud and proud on the show right now, James. Thank you for the shirt, and thank you for hosting us on your Twitch stream feeds. If you got anything to say,
James is such a nice boy.
He's such a good
channel
boy.
When he's not using it. No. Okay. So yes, of course, thank you to James. Thank you, of course, to all of our You Had Me friends. Thank you for Dustin dropping his massive nards and throwing out his back so he couldn't be on the show today. Thanks, Dustin's brother, for being easily trolled by the master.
Thanks, V,
Yo.
for letting me hang out with you. Thank none of you for doing anything when it comes to our Twitch drive. Thanks.
You know what, Feats? You can never say
real good.
You can never say that, like, I don't love you, because this is like, there's very little in this world that is mine and that, like, my name is attached to and that I have, like, some control over. But, like, this show is, like, half of that, because I'm not even, like, the sole owner of this show, and I'm not even, like, a third of the owner.
Oh no, I wasn't.
No, I'm saying
you.
No. I'm saying you can't say that I don't love you, because I turned this show to the best of my ability into a feats-a-thon, and we really tried. We did. We put in a good effort. You, me, and V. We did our best to really try to turn this into a fetus-thon. And which sounds like a Planned Parenthood stem cell selling thing, but you know we did our best, and you know I do appreciate. I forgot to say that. I did forget to thank you guys, and you guys are the ones who made this show funny and made this relevant, and I do appreciate you guys coming. You and V as well, and V last minute. I know I kind of sent you a message last minute and said, hey, Three's Company, I need you, and he dropped everything and came on the show. So thank you, V, and
yeah, of course.
Feats, when you're done, go ahead and hand the floor over to V.
Well, let's see. I think the only other things I got to do is, just one more quick plug. I am at Fetusberry on the Twitter. I have a podcast going at Fetusberry Jam. That's FETUSBERRYJAM, anchor.fm/Fetusberry. And that's about it for me. V, man, go ahead, man.
Well, I actually just want to thank you guys for letting me be on the show. You know, I really enjoy it. I get a kick out of chatting with you dudes. Tom, you're my right hand dog forever and always will be. And then I want to give a shout out to James as well, because I miss that dude, and like he doesn't call and he doesn't write anymore. So Jameis, I'm over here wagging my finger at you because you don't hit me up no more. I feel like I lost a little brother.
Cyber
there, Jameis. Where you be, dog?
Where you been at?
But I really appreciate being on it, and absolutely anytime you want to have me as a guest, I would love to come back and just enjoy the chat, man. You know, I love it. So that's it for me, and have a good evening.
All right, we'll close it out with this. If you are watching this and it is a replay, it's not too late. If it is before September 19th, you can hop on to Amazon, smile.amazon.com, choose the nonprofit of your choice. It will donate a portion of the sale, not in addition to, it will take from the sale. So if you pay $20, it's not going to charge you $20.20. It's $20.20. It's going to charge you $20, and they're going to take money from that, and they're going to donate it to a nonprofit of your choice. Smile.amazon.com. Buy Fetusberry a PlayStation Network card. I've never asked you to buy anything from You Had Me at Bigfoot, You Had Me podcast. I've never asked you to buy anything from our brand, and I never will. But I am saying this right now. If you love the show and you love what we do, we put a lot of work into this. I mean, this is like a fun hobby for me. I enjoy. I love doing this. I'm not going to say it's work because it's not. But we do put a lot of money into this, and we put a lot of work into this. And it would mean a lot to us if you could. Like I said, Fetusberry's birthday is on the 19th, and all I want from you is just shoot me a message on Twitter, shoot me a message on whatever, and just say happy birthday. On the 20th is my birthday. So, but those PlayStation Network codes, if you feel so inclined, send it over to Fetusberry, at Fetusberry, or send it to us. We'll send it over to him. We love you, and we will see you next week.